Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ & Sons and our EA College 25 Dynasty series here, where we are now in the off-season, taking a look at some of our commits that we were able to snag before we finished off the season in the First Responders Bowl. A disappointing finish to a really good start. So welcome back to those of you who are returning, and welcome here to Champ & Sons if you are new to the channel and to our content. Please stay tuned for all of the college football content we have coming up. Now, coming into the offseason, we were able to snag one more player. However, we lost one to Auburn. Things like that are going to happen. So here we come into the transfer portal time, and this is an era of the transfer portal in college football, so we need to look to take advantage as well. We are going to try to get the best that we can find. We're still an American conference team, right? We're not the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, or even the Big 12, so it is a little bit harder for us to get some of these guys. However, if they've already got an interest in us, we performed fairly well throughout the season, just had a disappointing finish. It's best for us to look at guys that, one, we have a deal breaker on, but two, have already got some interest in us. We are going to reach, don't get me wrong, we're going to reach for those who don't even know that the city of Denton exists and that our school is even a school. But we are going to go for those that genuinely have an interest in us of some sort. Now, Joe Canita, we started recruiting him in the season. He just never fully committed, so we got very little space left to actually go ahead and get him snagged for our team. But we do have to add points to him or else he's not going to come. All right, learned that lesson the hard way before. So now we're looking at some more of our actual transfer recruits. Starting out, free safety, Raylan Adams. He's got good zone cover. Well, not good. I mean, it's decent zone coverage at an 81. He's only a sophomore, though, so he's got a lot of space to develop, which is actually a pretty positive thing for us. Now, so far, it shows we're the only one to offer him a scholarship. Is it going to stay that way? Probably not. But let's just keep our fingers crossed. Now, halfback, James Jambers Dubar, JD is just what I'm going to call him. Back JD, 4-star, transfer junior out of Anna, Texas. We are going to get his visit scheduled. Now, we are top 5, so we're able to do that, but I want to try to add some separation. We are just the number 3. Downside to doing this right now is I don't know what he's going to value the most, right? So a part of me says, let's pick the things that have the most to them, right? We know kind of what our deal breaker is for them, so let's pick what we have the most for, and we do a hard sell on them to get them, at least to get us into that number 1 spot. Now, thinking about that, we do end up doing the same thing with Raylan Adams as well. Like I said, don't know what they value. However, we're going to go with some of our highest rated functions that we have. Playing style, proximity, home for some of these guys. That's A+ and an A. And so that's kind of what we were thinking going into this. Now, you see we had 1,050 hours. With just essentially 4 transfer portal recruits added, we are getting close to that halfway mark on spending our points. So we do have to do this kind of carefully. So Jaden Chapman, he's going to be a right tackle. He's someone that I think, he's going to be a junior transfer, so we're not going to have him for very long. But essentially, if we can get a year out of him, that's all we really need him for. And so at that point, it's one of those, let's go ahead and put him to use if we can get him to come to our school. That's going to be the biggest factor, is get him to come to our school. Ashley Williams is going to be a defensive end. 85 finesse moves, 87 tackle. He's someone that's, as a defensive end, that's got a lot of capability for us. Yeah, we use primarily outside linebackers for the most part when it comes to our rush ends, which we end up playing a lot of with the 4-2-5. But he's someone that can be a disruptor on the defensive line. If we set him up to where he's in the game more often, he's someone that can have some big impacts for our defense. And that's really what we want to look at. A lot of these transfers, you might get your sophomore transfer who's going to stick around for a couple of years, but most likely these guys are juniors looking for a place to go to make a name for themselves, to have that one just out there kind of season, right? So that's what we're kind of looking at. Now, here in the prospect list, looking at 5-star recruits, I'm only doing that because we actually got a couple. All right, we got Prohl, we got McGrone. Prohl is going to be a tight end, so will he start immediately? I don't think so, but he has a good chance of starting immediately, but we'll be able to feed him into the game to get him a lot more playing time starting out. And then looking at some of these 4-star recruits that are still available, most of these guys have already signed with someone else, or they've locked us out to a degree. As you see, they're all coming up gray, so it's not the best look in the world if we're trying to get a lot of these 4-star kind of guys. But so I have to understand, as far as regular recruits, not going to see them all that much. Now, sometimes what we will see as we get through the recruiting is, at times it seems like the transfer portal and prospect list at some point do essentially combine, but for the most part they are separate. And so that's kind of how we look at this, and let's try to keep it separate that way. As much as I want the transfer portal guys, because these dudes will have an immediate impact on us, at the same time we got to also be willing to look at the long-term effects. We have to go back and forth between the transfer portal and the prospect list to try and get guys that not just have that immediate impact, but will have a lasting impact. All right, now Jolais and Landry, another defensive end speed rusher, 79 finesse moves, 84 tackle though. So coming off the edge with a 79 finesse moves, once again, it's not the highest rated in the world, but it's got potential with the talent that we're going to be playing against, going up against the Temples, the Rice, the UTSAs. Right now we're in the American Conference, right? And this dynasty is all about our coach. It's not about the team. I'm not going to stay at North Texas forever. My goal is to get out. And in fact, when this recording was done, there was that glitch that EA has now fixed. That once you reach that re-sign period, it didn't give you any offers. That was at the end of year 3. That's why you didn't see me go into the portal or look at anything, because they had that going on. That is now fixed, but at this time it wasn't. So year 4, we're going to make a name for ourselves this year, because I don't have much of a choice. We've got trying to get our coach built up and get out, right? We can only do so much, I think, at North Texas. You know, we had a dream season going last season until the very end. But so I think we can repeat it. It's just whether we can do that consistently. I don't think so. We need a big program. But for the time being, we have to get guys here to give us that shot. All right, we need the impact now to get a shot at a better opportunity later, but we also, if we don't get a better opportunity, need to build for the later as well. Now, Robert Boudreau, 4-star, Robert Boudreau, 4-star outside linebacker. We had him recruited earlier on in the season. I just forgot to add his points here. We're still in the first week, so it was really kind of a no harm, no foul kind of setup. But we do have to go back through and add all his stuff in and continue to recruit him just as if he was a transfer portal recruit. And the longer you do have these guys, the more of those X's and check marks you get, which does help out when it comes to scheduling the visit and so forth. But it's just one of those things. Some of these guys, especially in the offseason, you're not going to have them for all that long. So things got to be scheduled immediately. We got to put hard sells on them. We got to put soft sells on them. We got to do all that kind of stuff. And some of these guys, if you don't have a whole lot of chances to recruit them, you're going to be taking kind of a guess, right? So that's, kind of one of the dangers of going into the portal and all that stuff this late, is needing to grab these guys immediately, but not having the full information on them. Now, we do still have 60 points left. It's not much to get done with, though. So, first week of recruiting here in the offseason. Let's go and see what comes out of it. Keep on. All right, so Boudreau commits. That's a 4-star linebacker. And Kaneda, the 3-star, commits as well. So, hey, we got a couple of guys. That's a positive sign. We just got to keep building. We've moved up in a lot of these boards. I say boards, and it's interest level. We moved up in a lot of the interest level of these recruits. So that's a positive sight. And see, now we're at the prospect list, and you see Dubar is at the top of it. He's one of our transfer guys. So I think it's because he's on our recruiting board, they start putting them into the prospect. I don't really know how that works or why it's that way. To be all honesty, I think it's probably a glitch within the system that EA has, but hey, it's whatever at that point. I'm not going to stress about it. I just need to try to get these guys signed. That's the biggest thing. And as much as I want the needs, right? So they do identify what your needs are. As much as I want the needs, we at the same time, I think we've also got to look at things that we don't exactly need right now, but we will need eventually. Ooh, Joseph Dodds, 90 halfback. He loses, but coming in at 91 speed. Now, he is a sophomore, so we'll have him for a couple of years. If we can land him and Dubar, good Lord, you're talking about building up a stable in the backfield. That would be impressive to have if we can get multiple of these guys. We're 5th on his interest level, so it is going to be a fight to get there, especially since this is week 2 of the offseason recruiting. You get your 4 weeks to do it. But we're going to give it our damnedest shot. And, if we can start snagging multiple guys in multiple positions, woo-wee, you're talking about having some potential. And building depth. That's another big thing in case people get injured. Stephen McLean, quarterback, transfer junior. I'm sending him a scholarship just for depth purposes. Wilkes, he's our guy, right? He just finished his sophomore season. Had a great year, but he is definitely our guy. Just him being more mobile leads to chances of him getting injured. So we do have to build there. So we just add McLean to the board. Joe Redunds, he's a center. He's a freshman transfer, so this guy can actually come and stay for a few years. And he's got pretty decent stats, so it's not anything to really shy away from. Somebody we can really build with. Philip Bullocks, wide receiver, deep threat. He's a transfer freshman as well. 96 speed. Ooh, 96 speed is very tempting. That is someone you want because you can get loose on the deep ball. You're talking about kick returns and all sorts of things that can happen with a player like that. So we do add him a scholarship. And then, like I said, we don't know what he truly values. So whenever we go to do a hard sell and stuff, it's one of those, man, this is kind of hard to pick. So we just pick our highest rated stuff for the most part, what we feel is the highest ratings, A+, A-, B+, A, in that realm. Because I figured that's got to have some impact, right? We don't know what this kid likes, what he doesn't like, so it's got to have some impact on it. Now we still have 140 points. I'm just calling them points. I hate calling them hours. 140 points for week number 2 here. And like I say, I want deal breakers just because that helps us get in with them. It's not something that, Draymond Wills, a cornerback, 90 speed, 80 man coverage though. However, we run a lot of zone, but his tendency is man to man. He's only got 80 man coverage. He's a sophomore transfer. He's got time to grow, but he'll have an impact with some speed stuff. If anything, we can use him in a return game. Like I'm definitely, whenever I go to add some of these recruits, especially wide receiver, defensive backs, even running backs, you got to look at them from multiple aspects for what they can actually do on the field beyond just their position. So we're talking return game and so forth. So we do take a look at a lot of that stuff. Now, Raylan Adams, 4-star free safety, Mr. Trench, one of our transfer portal guys, he does commit over to us. That's a pretty good pickup for us. That's adding a spot where, at times Goodson and Tuck can have problems. We've seen that with us not only this season, but last season as well. Now then, JD, running back, he commits. Jaden Chapman, he's committing. Ashley Wood. The floodgates have opened, ladies and gentlemen. Delays and Landry, we got commit after, good Lord, the number of commits that done snagged up on us. And looking at all these recruits, we are at right now 22 total commits. And a lot of these guys are 4 stars and everything. Now, seeing that open up with Dubar, Chapman, Williams, all those guys, and Landry coming in that last week, that's a good positive feeling. It doesn't help out our point total as much. I would have figured we would have had more than 660 hours, but hey, it is what it is. So some of these guys, we're going to go through and kind of clean up what we're doing at recruiting. Like Stephen McLean, man, we're in second place. Arkansas is ahead of us, but we're right there. Like, legit, we are right there, poised to snag them. We just got to overcome Arkansas. And I don't know if we can do it. Right, we're going to give it our damnedest. But he still has us at second on his interest level, which is not good for us. Same thing with Phillip Bullocks. Some reason Arkansas is coming after these guys. They need to back off, man. We're trying to get these kids pulled in, bring them to a proper state like Texas, not Arkansas, where you don't know if you're meeting someone's wife or their cousin, and generally that's the same damn person. But either way, Mr. Bullock's here. Oh, he's from Arkansas. Guess I shouldn't have said that. He's probably not going to want to come to the school now. Damn it, man. Either way, just kidding. So I'm going to try a sway with him. And once again, I say I'm going to try the sway just because Arkansas is his top interest, obviously being from Arkansas. I want to see how this works. I know if it's one of those, if you choose a box that may not be a normal check mark for him and you do the sway and it works or whatever, you get that one additional field that when it comes to do a hard pitch or soft pitch is available for you. I wasn't too worried about that at all, so it is what it is. Corbin Hendricks, transfer wide receiver. Adam Pierce is going to be a tight end. He's a 3-star though. See, some of these guys we don't need position-wise right now, but we do need them just for depth purposes. So I do add Hendricks. I'll go through and add his points to him here in a little bit. I'm looking at this Adam Pierce kid, transfer junior, vertical threat. He's got me intrigued. We do have the deal breaker on him, playing style. We have an A+ that says needs B-. So we do add him. I want to see how far, what we can do to actually snag him. We're 5th on both of these guys' interest level. So it'll be interesting. Hendricks, 95 speed, 92 acceleration. Ooh, we can start stretching the field now, folks. We can start stretching the field. This deal breaker playing style, we know it. We hit that one up, so hopefully during the visit, it all goes smooth. We're 5th. We got to compete against some bigger schools. Baylor, I don't know if you'd really say it's truly a bigger school, but it's in the Big 12, so it's in a bigger conference. And that probably plays a role for some of these kids. I know in real life it would. Just one of those, it is what it is. So trying to figure out his hard sell without knowing what he values. That's, I mentioned before, it's a tough spot. It's just a crapshoot. Go with our highest rated. Or what we think is a pretty highest rated right there. And those are all A. That's an A+, and A- rating. So that's what we choose for his hard sell. Contact, friend, and family. And really, if you notice in the little right above the mentals, the number out of 65 or 75 points, I do generally try to max those out as long as I obviously have the points available. But also each one of them comes with a little uptick indicator right under hard sell. Had like 5 or 6. So if you actually do the hard sell and you have 6, I think it's 6 spots, that's going to give you, using 40 points, 6 recruiting upticks, I guess. And then the additional things was out of 65. So we're talking, we can do communicate with the family, which is like 3. No, that's 4. Contact friends or family, that's going to be 4. So that's 10 total recruiting, I guess, up arrows that we're getting out of these guys. So it's a pretty positive thing. I think it's a decent way to do it. It's landed us some fairly big recruits so far. Hopefully Arkansas doesn't take those 2 guys from us. But we shall see what happens with that. All right, so now 300 points still remaining. That's what I'm not totally used to. It's off-season after following season number 3, right? But our total recruiting hasn't really been this good. Had this much availability because North Texas, we are not, that 4-star, 5-star program. We're building to that. We were 1 game away essentially from the playoffs this last go around. So we are definitely building. But I like seeing that number of hours, and in reality it catches me off guard at times, trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to spend all of these damn points? I don't know. It's tough. It is tough to see. It is tough to think about. And then here on the recruiting list, I probably should go through and change it up as far as the sorting. Looking at rank and so forth to see, what's the best ranked guys that are still available. And how many of them have we already targeted? How many of them have already committed to us? Or who do they have on their list? That's something to keep track of. Now, we did it by rating here. We didn't do it by rank. We did it by rating, which works out for us. It gives us a pretty decent idea of, who's who. What have we looked at these guys before already? Do we need to continue to look at them and so forth? But I think we've got pretty good so far. We got 31 targets on the list. Right now, 30 guys have been offered scholarships out of 35 total scholarships. And even if we do get most of those guys, one thing to understand is I think we can only play with 85 guys on the... Ooh, Johnny Dobbs coming in as a gym defensive tackle. Thank you, sir. However, we are 9th on his interest. That's going to make it a little tough to snag. Man, now I forgot what I was saying beforehand. Oh, well. Moving on. Jamie Bravo, 3-star wide receiver. We are first in his interest out of Missouri City, Texas, which is right in our recruiting wheelhouse. About the recruits and the targets. You can only, I think, play with 85 on an active roster, and that includes your red shirts. Because before the season starts, one of the offseason things is they make you go through and, as they call it, encourage guys to transfer because they don't want to call it cutting them, I guess. So they say encourage them to transfer. Most of the time it's someone I know is never going to meet the field. That even if, when we talk depth, we're talking 3 or 4 guys in front of them. So I know they're not going to get on the field, so I just encourage them to get out. So Jamie Bravo, the last recruit we add, and Joseph Dodds commits. Joe Reduns commits. Drayvon Wilson commits. It's a 3-star storm. Jamie Bravo, he commits over to us. And we've done a pretty damn good job so far. We lost those bastards to Arkansas. Whatever. Losers, get out of here. I don't want you on my team anymore. Anyway, Battles still will not commit to us. That ingrate. I can't believe it. We've been recruiting him this whole damn offseason. He still doesn't want to. We are his top. We got a pretty good wide gap. Not like someone's catching up to us. Damn it. But, well, it is what it is. All right, so let's take a look at some other spots we got to fill. Felix Gay, quarterback. He is a scrambler, so, that kind of fits our play style. He's more of just going to be a depth builder right now, right? If he sees the field, at most it'd be after a quarterback battle during his sophomore or, I guess actually his senior season or junior season. So who knows, but I enjoy healthy competition amongst teammates, trying to figure out who's going to be the best. And I think Macho Man Randy Savage said it the greatest when he said the cream will always rise to the top. You know what I'm talking about. So that's one thing about building some depth in a program and, forcing guys to develop before they can actually get out there. All right, so still with 790 recruit points left. It's hard. We've added multiple guys, so I like to get them scouted up, and then get the points added on. And with a lot of our recruiting, 85 throw power for a rookie, 77 accuracy, mid accuracy. Now he's a scrambler. His speed is a little low, about 75, so it's kind of weary of it. But that kid's got potential. We give him a couple years. Wilkes, like I said, he's going to be a junior this upcoming season. Then he'll be a senior after that. He's got potential to be starting by his junior year with those ratings where they are. So he's a pretty decent pickup if we can snag him. Now Montrell Bloom, he's going to be another quarterback. Once again, he's actually right out of Denton, so right down the road from us. He's someone that we have been watching before, and it's just this. I didn't know if anybody else was going to be going after him, so we kind of let him kind of sit and simmer. But now we're going to go at him here in the final part of the recruiting. We're not on his interest board, but we're not on anybody's interest board at this time. We're getting straight up to see if we can get a top, I'd say a top 10 class. I'd be happy with right now. And, I mean, the more scholarships we have, the number of recruiting hours doesn't really matter. Like, we got 405 hours, and pretty much all these guys, for the most part, are maxed out, with the exception of a whole visit thing, but we're not eligible for a visit for those guys. So, I think at this point, we've got a pretty good setup of them. So, let's see. We do get James Battles, corner commits. Corbin Hendricks, speedster commits. Adam Pierce, tight end. He's coming. Johnny Dobbs, defensive tackle. Felix Gay. Montrell Bloom, 2 quarterbacks picked up in the same recruiting week. KC Fink commits as well. We got 34 out of 35. We did reach the top 10. It says 33. I thought we had 34. Oh, well. We do reach the top 10 right now. We are at number 8, 2 5-star, 15 4-star, and 16 3-star. That's a pretty damn recruiting class for us to have. Yeah, we're right behind Notre Dame, and Georgia didn't get one single 5-star. That's hard to believe. That is very hard to believe that he didn't. But, hey, so be it. Let's take a look at some coaching upgrades. Now, these are kind of going into the motivator situation, mainly because I think if you're at a smaller school, you're going to essentially burn 5 points in that first round, because that talks about guys drafted in the top 3 rounds. Being at a smaller school or a non-Power 4 conference, man, it's going to be hard to get those recruits. It just is. It's going to be hard to get guys to commit over to us. So I'm just looking at our offensive coordinator to see where he was at, and he's pretty down low rated, don't get me wrong. But do start spending points in motivator, because I also understand as we grow and this program grows and we move on to bigger, better things, we're going to have these guys start getting drafted in these rounds. So we need to start getting those points boosted up. Plus, it offers a lot of additional things as we go. So like this one, blocking offensive lineman as a tactician. Once you get to that final boost to pass block power and all of that, you get through the initial first phase and you really start seeing the impact come at those second level advancements. Kickers and punters take less time to fully scout. I don't care about the kickers and punters. Not to say I shouldn't, but I just don't. It is what it is. Halfbacks, boost to pass block and run block. Now, once you get past that first one, and we've only got 5 points left, but once you get past that first one, then you start getting into actual development stuff for them. So here we did finish it. We got a top 8 class. Let's take a look at our schedule that we have coming up. All right, so we're looking at 4 non-conference games. And I want to have bigger programs on. I get the desire people might want to have to put the small programs up or an FCS team. But me personally, I think the best measuring sticks you're going to have is when you are playing against bigger schools. We're in the American Conference. It's safe to say a team like Nebraska or Texas Tech is a bigger school than us. That's okay to say that. But we also need to have teams that, we can whip up on. You got to find your fair mix. That's why we add Sam Houston to our season list. Add Sam Houston. I want to keep SMU going. I really do. It's a rivalry game, and outside of it being a non-conference thing, unless we move North Texas into the ACC, they're never going to play each other. And I prefer that they do. So that was our thinking behind it, adding SMU into the schedule on that one. Now, I'm trying to think of an SEC school to add. I've already played Texas, right? And we actually beat Texas, which was a shocker. But I add Texas A&M. And mainly because, one, we haven't played them yet in this series, for one. But two, they're a good, decent rated school. So that was my biggest thing about it. We start off against Nebraska. Sam Houston's going to be kind of that, hey, you got beat up before, you're beat down a little bit, relax, recover, kick ass, and then get ready for the rivalry game against SMU. Depending on what we do there, if we lose, we'll be pissed off heading into Kyle Field. If we win, we'll be like, hell yeah, now we can beat anybody. We've already proven that, so bring it on, Agros, So that is going to be our schedule. And the biggest parts is the non-conference schedule. Nebraska, the 3 of the 4, Nebraska, SMU, and Texas A&M. Those are going to be real measuring sticks for us because I think it's going to show us where we are. Are we a team that has improved from last season? Where we went 11-1 going into the conference title game and just got our asses whipped? Or are we going to be, the team that's ready to take that next step? It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think it's a lot of stuff for us to prove this season. And starting out with those 4 non-conference games really sets us up with that opportunity to prove it. It is what it is. So now let's jump into recruiting. 875 hours. I don't think we get that much. We'll have that much during the regular season on a week, like starting out 875. This is still technically considered the off season. But I do finally 5-star prospects are an actual possibility for us. So I wanted to add some of those guys in, knowing that hey, pretty quickly we're probably going to have to kick them off the board. This portion, all you're able to do is to scout and offer a scholarship. So that's all you can do right now. So we're going to be taking a look at Ronald Adams, 93 throw power, a scrambling quarterback. If we can get him, that's the quarterback for the future. Kevin Sobieski, he's a defensive end for the future. All these 5-star guys, my goodness, look at their ratings. All of them in the high 80s, low 90s. No wonder we're not even on the interest board for Sosa and great. Derek Kessenberry. He's not a gem. That's okay, though. 83 power moves, 82 strength. For a left outside linebacker, he's a guy that really can, I think, do good to anchor down a front 7. I don't know why more of those teams aren't interested in him. But, hey, we'll see what happens. Vance Haywood, halfback, coming out of Alabama. That's going to be a tough get. Look at the guy. Look at the schools that are above us on all these 5-star dudes. That's what's kind of shocking. Is we can recruit them, but none of them really have much of an interest in us. And so that's why it's going to be interesting to see where are we going to stand after, or when we get early into the season of the recruiting. How many of these guys, one, are going to lock us out? That's perfectly viable option to happen. But how many of them are we going to have to drop just because no matter what we do, we don't move up in their interest? Going to have to keep a watch on that. Now we're starting to find some gems now that we can look at some of these 5-stars. And that's a positive thing for us, but it also means all these bigger schools that they're more interested in are actually going to be start recruiting them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we get going and really dive into recruiting over the next season. But as I've always said, if you can perform, you ain't got nothing to worry about when it comes to getting recruits signed. You just have to keep on winning. And a lot of these recruits, I have a feeling, are really going to help us win. Cedric Rhodes, wide receiver, 4-star. This kid's got ability, 96 speed, 95 acceleration. That's where he's going to play. He's going to play a big role if he comes to North Tech or any school. Is that deep ball, you can get off your defender real quick, and then you get up to top speed that much faster. You've already got a step on him. Then it's really kind of toss it up and let your receiver go get it. That's one of the big important factors on that. So we've got 13 guys, spent about half the points on. Like I said, I know a lot of these dudes we're going to have to probably drop off at some point. So this is where we start talking. I know I've mentioned it before when it comes to recruiting. Do you want to just keep it with these guys knowing that, hey, come the start of the season where you can actually perform recruiting, we're talking the going all in and so forth like that. Do you want to have it so you have enough points to do that and actually spread it out over these guys? Or do we want to just see who all we can hammer in here, and then we'll start chipping them off? And quite frankly, I'm going with a let's hammer them in there and see who we can start chipping off afterwards. I've tried to think of it in terms of limiting, all right, let's only go after, like, say 15 recruits or 10 recruits, so we can put all these points into them and so forth, and maybe we'll climb up their interest. Sometimes that's just impossible, and you waste a lot of weeks not recruiting other players that do have more of an interest. So, got to think of it that way. Eric Pinheiro, man-to-man corner, 80 man coverage, 91 speed, which for a defensive back, I know I keep talking about speed, but it is highly important to have when it comes to defensive backs and so forth. So coming into week 1, a lot of guys have locked us out, so we're going to get those guys removed. We have already added points across the board to our recruits. Haven't been able to max them all out, but we've got a pretty fair number of them ready to go that we're trying to build interest in. Sobieski, we've already moved up to first on his interest. Adams, we're still 6th, but we're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and fingers crossed we can always move to the next stage along with them. So that's kind of the biggest thing here is those that were first and great. If I'm, top 4, for like Sosa, the defensive tackle that's number 3 on the list, we're top 4. We're top 5. So we've got at least one more round, and at that point we can start sparsing our points out a little bit more regularly, right? So now we've looked at our recruits, let's take a look at our roster. Wilkes is going to be an 84 overall, scrambling quarterback, 96 speed, 94 change of direction, throw power's 92. Accuracy still leaves something to be desired, but overall, pretty damn good. Dubar, he's an 87 running back, 94 speed, 93 acceleration, agility, so forth. Ball carrier vision's 85. That kid's going to be good for us if we can use him in the proper way. Luke Carter, good fullback. We don't really use one except for goal line situations, and even then that's pretty rare. I like to spread them out. Kind of makes it a little easier to power it through the middle. Wide receiver, we are going to be lacking just a little bit in. Right, I'd like to see us have some better guys, but Arsenault's been coming up through the program. We saw him last season near the end of it step up in big ways, so he's got a lot of a potential for us. Hendricks coming in here from the transfer portal, and then the same thing. Ferguson, we've got guys that we can build around. It's just they're not highly rated right now, so it's just going to be how we can use them and stretch the field and get points scored. Now, Vega was a defensive end that we did move over to tight end. And oddly enough, he's got a lot of capability at tight end, so he's actually going to start for us in the tight end position. We'll see how it goes. He's never played that position before, just decided to step up for us now. So we're gonna see what he can do. Our offensive line is actually pretty damn good. I'm glad to see that almost everybody's above an 85, 86, 87, even into the 90s. So we've got, except for our right tackle, but who cares about right tackle? I can see that guy coming. It's the Blinds left tackle that's the most important. But either way, even then, these guys are really talented on that line. So we've got a lot of capability there. Now, on the defensive side, we're talking Langley. Landry, we brought him in, but hey, if you ain't a starter, you ain't a starter. That's life. Get over it. There's Williams. He's going to be getting out there on the field quite early and often. Keith Smith is still here. He's going to be a beast for us, 82 overall, but his strength is an 85. Play recognition, 92. That's going to be a big thing for us, his play recognition. Now, Woodyard is one of our outside linebackers. We're talking somebody who's going to be coming rushing off the edge. His speed is only 77, which is a little disconcerting, but it's okay. I mean, coming off the edge, I don't need him to be the fastest guy in the world as long as he can get off a block, McGrone, I'm going to go ahead and put McGrone in for Greer. They're rated at the same, and McGrone's just an incoming freshman, so I'm going to put him in the starting lineup as a middle linebacker. I think he'll have a more positive impact, plus it'll help him develop a lot better as we go. Now, Homewood is going to be fill another one of our outside linebacker spots. We saw him before his freshman season, had a great year. Didn't see him so much last season, but he'll be back out there for us again. Now, Taylor Starling will anchor our defensive backfield, a 96 overall with 97 speed. It'll be amazing if he gets beat deep. I have a feeling he will because his speed hasn't increased all that much. But I like our defensive backfield. Everybody's 85 and above, which is a positive sign. Right now, DeAndre Cooper, he's a senior. So Raylan Adams transferred in. He's an 86, but Cooper is an 89 overall, but he's a senior. So Adams, you're talking, hey, next year you got your chance. Braxton Schaefer will be the starter at strong safety. Kyle Tuck normally has been playing that for us. But, hey, you lose your position, you lose your position. It happens. Taking a look at our kickers, they are what they are. We'll keep our fingers crossed every time, all season. So while we finish that up, I do want to remind y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already. And definitely give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy this recruiting video and you are excited about the college football season. It's sad that we're almost to that halfway mark, but I love seeing these games going on and the craziness, whether it's Vandy over Alabama or, fingers crossed, Texas over Oklahoma at the time of this recording. That game is just 5 days away, and I hope to hell we kick the shit out of OU. But that's to be said. That's in the future. We'll see what happens. We're going to get the season started off in the next episode. Top 25 matchup on the road against the Corn Huskers of Nebraska. And I will see y'all in that episode, everybody. So as always, stay safe. And, well, y'all know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.